Hello, everyone, and welcome to our program titled PA Banker Members Save with Total Energy Solutions and Procurement. My name is Carrie Shepard, Marketing Analytics Manager for APPI Energy, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. Please note that all participant lines are muted. Please submit questions anytime during the session by using the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen. Our presenter today is Mike Payne, Executive Vice President and Corporate Counsel with APPI Energy. Joining us as well this morning is Wayne Whipple, Vice President, Business Development with the Pennsylvania Bankers Association. Welcome, Wayne. Let's get started.
Thank you, Carrie. Good morning. I want to take a few minutes to introduce our presenter today, Mike Payne. Mike and I have been working for many years together helping other PA bankers, members like you, save money and create budget certainty for your business. APPI has been a preferred vendor for energy consulting since 2009, and our program here at the PBA continues to grow. Currently, there are over 40 banks totaling almost 1,100 service accounts throughout the Commonwealth. Yes, they provide electricity and natural gas procurement, but this year they're rolling out the Energy Solutions Division for efficiency projects and improved sustainability. I hope you all enjoy the program, and I look forward to any of your feedback. Mike?
Thank you, Wayne. And thanks for joining us, everyone. We really appreciate you taking the time out today to participate in this webinar. We look forward to working with each of you going forward. Any questions, contact Wayne, Carrie, or myself, and we'll reply promptly. I thought I'd start this morning by sharing with you this map of the United States, this color-coded map, which provides information around the states where APPI Energy provides its services. Of course, we're aligned closely with Pennsylvania Bankers Association, as well as over 150 other trade associations around the nation. And that's given us national reach. We're licensed and do business in many states across the country. And you can see from this chart, the states that are in green, including Pennsylvania, are states that are deregulated for both electricity and natural gas. We work in all those states. The states that are in blue are deregulated only for natural gas. We serve clients in all those states. Then there's two states designated gray, California and Michigan. They're both deregulated for electricity and natural gas, but we use the word partially because they've had some changes in their regulatory structure over the past 20 years, frankly, with some limitations placed on customer participation, but there could be opportunities there. So as your banks expand into other states, you can see that we could probably serve most of those locations, particularly if they're in the sister states, the surrounding states around Pennsylvania. And then even across the nation, don't overlook any opportunity that we may be able to help with your locations with one or more of our services. And then finally, in all the states around the country, we can provide information, advice, and perhaps solutions on the efficiency side, which we'll talk about at the end of the presentation today. Next, I wanted to move to the energy markets sort of at 30,000 feet and to give you a feel for where the energy markets are currently, this being mid to late March 2019. This first chart you'll see is labeled PJM Wholesale Market Settlements. This chart shows electricity prices at the PJM, which is the acronym for Pennsylvania, Jersey, Maryland Independent System Operator Grid Operator. This is the grid operation group that manages all of the utilities in Pennsylvania, as well as those in Jersey and Maryland and several other states around those three states. This chart shows electricity prices calculated on megawatt hour values. So as retail customers, our Pennsylvania banks, these prices are not indicative of exactly what the retail prices would be, but they are indicative of some important things that we look at very closely. If you look at the chart, you'll see that there's a lot of volatility. This chart goes back to February 09. So this chart shows 10 years of somewhat granular information about the markets. Primarily, though, there are two takeaways here that I want you to see, and one is the volatility that we see in the markets. And if we showed you a more granular chart, month to month, or even quarter to quarter, you'd see even more spikes up and down around price volatility. So one of our primary objectives is to understand this price volatility and how that impacts the best timing for our member banks to be participating in the electricity markets. We get a lot of good data and analytics from these charts and other work that we do internally, which I'll mention in a minute. The second thing that I want you to take from this is if you look at the far right end of the chart at the February 19, you see where we are now. And we're almost at all-time low prices for electricity in the PJM marketplace. And that's true across all the utilities across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We're a little bit above the all-time lows, but not much, just 2 to 3 to 4%. So it's an excellent time to be looking at price opportunities, price discovery for your banks, no matter when your current contract expires, or if you're still with the utility, we'll compare current prices to the prices to compare at each utility to see if there's opportunities for you. So look at the volatility, look at where we are now on a relative basis, very good buying opportunity. Finally, here you'll see what we've earmarked, 3 of the highlights that are 3 of the spikes, and those were all keyed around exterior events, January extreme cold, the mild winter El Nino, and then all the way back into the 2010 period. Of course, as we all know, in the banking community, all the market speculation that went on then. So importantly, though, aside from these major events, the markets can be tracked very closely and predicted. Next, I want to move to a similar chart, except that this is focused on natural gas prices. This chart goes back 10 years as well, back to March 09. You'll see the same key indicators here. Volatility, which again is keyed primarily to extreme weather events or extreme financial events. If we overlaid these 2 charts, you'd see these spikes would be very close. Secondly, I want you to see on the far right that again, for natural gas prices, we are at or near all-time lows over the last 10 years. And again, a good opportunity to be looking at natural gas price opportunities for your banks. To share some information with you along those lines, we know that currently there's a tremendous opportunity for gas in the PECO service territory. So if you have branches there or data centers there and you use gas, that's something that we could be talking to you about now to help you reduce your costs there. Many of our banks across the Commonwealth will have multiple branches, as you know. The gas spend per branch may not be much, but when we aggregate all those branches, your gas spend is considerable, and the suppliers are very anxious to price that through us for you. I'll give you an example. One of the banks I work with locations in 6 of the Pennsylvania service territories, the branch usage is only 20, 30, 40 decatherms, sometimes 100 decatherms a month, which isn't a lot. But when we aggregated those, we got fantastic pricing from 3 or 4 suppliers, one of which the bank acted on just a couple weeks ago. So if you look at the chart, same type thing, good time to buy, historically low. Next, I want to shift internally to APPI and talk more specifically about what we use, about how we gather and how we use the data, including the data that was demonstrated in the prior 2 charts, the electricity and natural gas chart. The Energy Research Council is an affiliated entity. It's a sister business to APPI Energy. We started that firm 6 years ago. It's based here in Salisbury. It's headed by Dr. Jim Moore, who has a PhD in data analytics. Jim is truly one of the original thinkers and actors in data analytics. He's worked in the banking industry, the insurance industry, and now in the energy industry exclusively with APPI Energy. And Jim takes all of that price information, all of the energy market data that we get from our research and from the suppliers as we're working for customers, and then analyzes that data. So if you look at the top bubble above ERC, there's benchmarking the historical prices. I'll show you some examples of that. To the right, trends for forward price curves. I'll show you some examples of that. At the bottom, insights, when to buy and for what contract length. When you boil it down, there are 2 main drivers in your price decisions around your electricity and gas supply. One, of course, is price. We want to make sure that the prices that you're receiving from the suppliers are not just competitive and low, but that are in the low end of all supplier pricing. We'll show you how we do that. And then, but importantly is, when you go to market, when you buy your electricity or gas, and for how long. whether you have a contract in place now that runs through the end of this year or perhaps even 2 years from now, it's important to be looking at forward prices now to see what they may offer you given your contract expiration date. And our insights come from some of the insights that we garner from our data analytics provide really good information for our clients to understand that. When's a good time to buy? And then for how long? 12 months, 24 months, 37 months, 8 months, etc. And then finally, on the far left-hand side at 9 o'clock, collects and analyzes a competitive supplier prices. This goes to the heart and soul of what we do every day as we get pricing in from 22 competitive electricity suppliers and 7 competitive gas suppliers that serve clients across the Commonwealth. We get pricing in every day from those suppliers. Jim's group at the ERC, along with our internal price analysts, collect that data, analyze it, benchmark it, trend it to provide insights for our clients. Here's an example of what I was just talking about. This is a price benchmark and trend chart that's created by the ERC in conjunction with us here at APPI Energy. If you look at the top of the chart, it says it's Med-Ed, so this is the Med-Ed service territory. This is for the week ending February 22nd, 2019, so this is just a month old. And by the way, we do trend and update all of our charts and graphs and benchmarking weekly based upon all the prices that we get in each service territory. So we could prepare and in fact do for our banks charts like this for every service territory across the Commonwealth, whether your branches or your data centers or your headquarters are in PPL or Duquesne or Pico, no matter where they are, we can provide this type of granular analytics around pricing and supplier activity for you to review. So these prices that are analyzed here and presented are for a contract start date in April of this year, and it shows a 12-month term contract price that was provided by all the suppliers. Now this chart, it's not so important that you look at the left axis where the prices are per kWh. What's more important is that you look at the body of the chart, the blue area, which we lovingly refer to as the blue ocean. And in that ocean in Pennsylvania, you have literally 100 competitive suppliers that are active for customers. We get pricing in from 22 of those every day, and we benchmark that and trend it by supplier. And then the red line through the center portion of that shows the average price that all those suppliers provided for a contract start date in April 2019 as of the week ending February 22nd for a 12-month term contract. And importantly, what you can see here is there are many supplier prices well above the average price benchmark, and there are several well below. Well, because of our research, our platform access to all these suppliers, the analytics that we're doing, and our forward price discovery, we're going to make sure that you as a PA Bank member are going to be looking at the suppliers who are providing prices across this blue ocean, but primarily we're going to focus on the ones that are pricing below the brown line so that we know that our prices that you're seeing and that you're choosing to go forward with are low and very competitive. So this is an example of some of our analytics. Here's another example. We used Med-Ed price discovery and price information, price analytics again. So this is a 24-month trend looking back 24 months. So this is as of February this year, looking back to February 2017. And we presented this in an index format so that if you look at the left axis, there's not a price per kWh, but a percentage change number. So we took February 17 as the beginning point, that's 0. And then from there, we showed you over each quarter how the prices changed, how they moved up and down over time. And we showed you that for 12, 24, and 36-month contracts, the blue being 12, the brown or red being 24, and the green being 36-month contracts. So we can look back 24 months and say, look, for the week ending March 1 of this year, looking back 24 months, this is how the prices in Med-Ed have trended. So again, if you look at the far right-hand part of the graph, you see that we are below where we were 24 months ago. We've been consistently below it primarily, except for one blip up. Again, that volatility that we talked about earlier in the market late last year. Now we're back down below it for all 12, 24, and 36-month term contracts. And it's a good time to buy again. We're about 5% below the benchmark that we started with 2 years ago. And historically, if we went back 10 years from the prior chart I showed you, we're at about that same spot at historically low prices, at or near all-time lows. So now I'm going to shift to our electricity and natural gas procurement process. We use our access, our platform, our relationships with the supplier, the insights we get from our ERC data analytics to guide us around the timing and around the processes that we need to use to benefit each of our PA Bank members individually based upon your time frame, your specific locations, your usage profile, when you want to go to market, what type of contracts you want to consider, and for how long. So to get to the point where we can actually then review solutions with you, we go through this procurement process. So our first step is to evaluate your usage profile to get a full picture with all details of all of your accounts, electricity and or natural gas, logged into our platform, our analytic system. Our operations team takes that, massages it, gets it in, really understands it. We'll have questions about that we'll often go back and forth with you all about to make sure we have all the accounts. If there's some anomalies, we'll talk about those to make sure they've balanced out or they're not going to reoccur, or if they did, why. And work through that to make sure that we have as granular and complete understanding of your profile as possible. To do that, it's a very straightforward process. We simply need you to submit to us a letter of authorization. It's called an LOA. It's a standard document. It's not even a document. It's just a letter of authorization. It's standard in our industry. There's no cost for us to go through this process each step of the way, and no cost for us to get the LOA, submit that to the utility and the suppliers to begin the evaluation process. We will then go through our proprietary database of prices that I've talked about earlier, begin to see the trends, look for insights around timing, length of contract, both around prices in general and specifically for accounts like yours. So that's the getting to know you process, evaluate the situation, start our RFP process that way. We will then submit the RFP that we've created through our operations group. We have a full-time 6-member operations team. The manager of our operations team, Suzanne Hearn, has been with us 20 years, one of the most experienced managers in operations, frankly, in the industry. And she manages her team to process literally hundreds of RFPs every month for our clients across the Commonwealth and across the other states. So, pardon me, I clicked it, didn't mean to just yet. So in that process, we vetted and approved many suppliers, as I've talked about before. We'll ask them to participate in the RFP, to provide price discovery, ask questions about our bankers' accounts, and make sure that they fully understand the opportunity. And again, there's no upfront costs or obligations on behalf of the member bank for us to do all this work and to get through this process for them. So once we've finished the RFP, again, our RFP is going to be based on each bank's specific circumstances, your locations, your time frame, what you want to see as results. And we can accommodate any structure around that, around pricing and around contract terms and conditions. So then after we do that, the results come out and we get our price discovery reports. Our consultant is going to review that with you to go through it all to make sure it's complete, that you understand it. Here's what the opportunities are advising us, by way of example, supplier number 3, a 36-month contract happens to be the lowest price on the board. If you were to accept that price for a contract starting in December of this year, you could then begin to budget this type of cost structure with this type of cost reductions for the next 3 years. To go through that kind of dialogue with you, make sure you're fully comfortable with all the information, and then make a good business decision with you. Before we make the final decision, well before that and ongoing, we're negotiating the supply contracts on a regular basis with the suppliers. We vet all of the, not just the suppliers, but all of their contracts. That's the document that our customers are going to sign with the supplier. We need to make sure it's as customer friendly as possible, and we do that. If a bank needs some customized or unique provisions, negotiated out or negotiated in, we'll do our level best to accomplish that, and we're often very successful in doing that. At the end of the day, our team here is always advocating only for you, the member bank, our customer. We never advocate for the utility or the supplier. We're completely independent. We're completely focused on our service to our customers, you and the other customers across the Commonwealth that we work with. So now I want to show you, I went the wrong direction, sorry. So next, at the end of our RFP process, this is an example of that price discovery report that I just mentioned. So you can see at the top, this is a sample, of course. The names have been taken out. We have ABC Company here. But if you look at the top left, the date on this price discovery report was February 5th of this year. On the top right, you see contract start. This was for a contract. This member bank needed a contract to start in April of this year. I want to make a point here, and that is that, again, it's important that no matter when your current contract expires, even if it's 2 or 3 years out, we can begin to get price discovery now for that contract start date. So often members, banks will, well, you know, I've got a couple, 3 years. I'm not. It's important to get going, to get set up with us in the platform. We can monitor prices for you, even if you're not ready to go yet. However, what we find often are these buying opportunities based upon the insights and the data analytics. So many times our bank customers will move their procurement process up earlier than they normally would do based upon what the market's demonstrating. So if you look at the left-hand side, you'll see a list of the suppliers that participated in this RFP. And then across the chart, you see the different terms, 12 months, 18 months, 21, and so forth, all the way up to 60 months. Those are the contract lengths that supplier priced, and their individual prices are shown there. You'll see that some suppliers will price all the terms, some will price some of them, some will price just a few. We ask suppliers to also provide us what we call sweet spot prices, not just your typical 12, 24, 36, 48, and 60 months. So you'll see one here for 35 months. In fact, the top center, that one is boxed in red. We did that to show you that happens to be the highest price on the board. Oftentimes the sweet spot prices are very low. This one happens to be very high. If you look at 30 months down in the middle of the chart, you see some pretty good pricing in there from Freepoint and Hudson. But in the third column under 24 months, Constellation's price that we boxed in the black is the lowest price on the board, just by way of example. On the far right of the chart, importantly, you'll see our notes. This is where we focus on making the price discovery, our discussion with you, and your decisions based upon what we call truly green apples to green apples prices. That means that if there are some provisions in the supply contract that can impact pricing, then we're going to note those there and describe those to you. Sometimes suppliers will ask clients to take a little more risk around pricing by being able to pass through certain changes that are based upon market conditions, for instance. If that's the case, their price should be a little lower. But we'll discuss that with you to make sure that that's something that you want to consider or not. But that's what shows up in the notes. Also, some of the provisions that are common to all supply contracts, whether you get a single or dual bill, 100% swing, which means that we'd like to get that in most of our contracts. It gives our banks comfort that no matter what their usage profile is during the term of the contract, that there's no way that the price could be changed by the supplier based upon your usage profile when you have a swing provision of 1% up or down. And then an example of the possible changes I mentioned, if you look at the far right under NRG, it says dual billing, so they would provide 2 bills. They do have 100% swing, but they have the material adverse change language. That goes to what I just described around the ability to pass through some additional costs that would be mandated by PJM or the utility. Some suppliers will say, no, we're going to wear that risk, so everything is included in the price. There's one that says, well, we might pass that through. But there's more detail around that specific to each client. So next I want to shift to the different aspects of our total service here. And what I focused on so far are the upfront analytics and our platform that we've created that members can access, our procurement activities, our RFP process, our operations team, and our analytics. And then what happens is the member bank says, okay, great, Mike, let's go forward with that 3-year contract with the supplier. What happens next is that our customer service team and our contracts administration team takes over from there. They make sure that there's a seamless transition from your current supplier to the new supplier, or from the utility if you're being served by the utility. Again, whether it's Penelec, PECO, it doesn't matter, over to the supplier that you chose in the supply contract. This is just something that we do every day. We have direct contacts with key people at every supplier in their operations group and their customer service groups to make sure that this is all done seamlessly and that it's done properly. It's something that you, our customer, the member, it's part of the program, and that you don't have to be concerned with and take up your time. If you move to the top right box, supplier and utility interaction, you can see that we have a bat phone there. And that's because, as I just mentioned, we do have direct access. We have cell phone numbers. We have direct line activity with all the suppliers and the utilities to make sure that we get answers, we get information, we get things done as efficiently as possible. And we encourage all of our clients to contact us whenever they have any questions. If you see something on your bill that doesn't look right, or you got a letter, or you got a call from anyone in the industry that concerns you, contact our customer service team and we'll run that down for you, explain it, make sure that it's applicable. If it's not, why it's not. If it is, why it is, and then take any action that needs to be taken. In the bottom left-hand corner, our account monitoring. So once you've signed the contract, even before it's in, even before that contract starts supply, whether it's immediately or a year and a half down the road, we're going to monitor the account activity and make sure that everything is going smoothly. Again, as you get your invoices, if you have any questions, you would contact us and we go through that with you to make sure that everything is being billed properly at the contract price and that there's no additional costs or changes in there that aren't appropriate. And then finally, in the bottom right, we're going to constantly monitor your accounts and your usage profile and be constantly looking for future cost reduction opportunities for your next contract. Again, getting back to you based on our analytics and insights about good times to consider pricing for your next opportunity, which we call renewals, as well as other opportunities in the market space to help you reduce your costs. And that's where I'll transition to next. This is our Energy Solutions Division. We've been active in a host of different energy solutions for many years here at APPI Energy, finding ways for our banks and other clients across Pennsylvania to reduce our overall energy spend and costs. Just within the last year, we formalized a new division, as Wayne mentioned earlier, our Solutions Division. We hired a vice president who's been with us about a year to manage that group specifically, to work closely with me and the rest of the management leadership team here and our clients to find proper solutions for our clients to consider in these 6 categories that are listed here. The first one on the left, facility audits, utility rebates. We have the ability, as you need it, to have an engineer or another property management specialist in banking come into your facilities, walk the facilities, look at plans, and talk with your operational people to make sure that your facility is operating as efficiently as possible from the energy perspective. This could be something where they come in and look at all the buildings, all the walls, go on the roof, look at the surrounding areas around the building to make sure that your facilities are operating and functioning as efficiently as they could be from an energy perspective. One of the things that's related to this is that many of the utilities across Pennsylvania from time to time, and these do change regularly, so we track, but each utility will offer rebates or other incentive programs to customers to do certain things at your facilities. So we'll coordinate that, any possible opportunities around rebates and other incentive programs to make sure that you're taking advantage of that. The second block is LED lighting retrofits. I'm sure that many of you on the webinar today, and those of you that will watch the webinar later, have been approached by vendors in the lighting retrofit space. This is a hot spot. This is a very important area. Frankly, if your branches or your data centers or your corporate locations have not had a lighting evaluation done in the last 3 years or so, you probably should have that done. The lighting technology improves dramatically year over year. Prices, vendor experience has gone up. Our due diligence has led us to just a few hand selected lighting specialists whose core competency is the evaluation of lighting retrofit opportunities, the installation of that, the disposal of that, the complete LED lighting retrofit opportunity. We can introduce those to our bank clients and come up with solutions to reduce your electricity usage through LED lighting retrofits. Again, this is something that if you haven't done it in the last 2 to 3 years, you should probably take a look at that, and we can help you with it. This is HVAC upgrades, very similar to the LED. Again, if you haven't looked at or had your HVAC systems evaluated in the last 3 years or so, all of you will have local contractors in lighting and electrical contractors and HVAC contractors that you trust and you rely on, and I'm sure they're very good and they're responsive. This is a step different than that. This would be to have a third specialist in these areas come in and look at everything that's currently in place and then consider ways to change that to make your systems more efficient and more cost effective. And all of our consultants that we use here, including our internal team, can work closely with your local vendors in the evaluation process and perhaps if any changes are chosen. The next are solar projects. We do not do the solar projects with our internal staff. Again, we've identified a few solar experts around the country. In fact, two based in Pennsylvania that have quite a bit of experience in solar, working with many different types of financial institutions, governmental entities, school districts, manufacturers, to evaluate the viability of a solar project on site or participation in a solar program where the array may not actually be on site. So we have expertise in that. We've helped clients in 15 or so opportunities in the last few years that wanted to begin to look at solar and in fact then decided to go forward with a solar program. So we can help you with that. Next is a utility expense and benchmarking program. Again, we've identified a top-tier third-party vendor whose sole core competency and expertise is in utility, energy, account, expense, collection, and management, benchmarking, trending, budgeting. So they've created a portal-based, it's not software, it's portal-based, which makes it easier for implementation by the bank. Program and platform where a specific portal is created for each bank. It's customized for the bank, where you can have some or all of your energy accounts. You can even add water and waste removal and other utility expenses if you want on that platform. But the platform, in a very cost-effective manner, provides insight, visibility, the ability to evaluate and budget your utility and energy spend very effectively. And finally, demand response programs. These are programs that are available to all customers across the Commonwealth, all banks, that essentially provide you compensation, provide you checks based upon your ability to participate in a demand response program, essentially to lower your electricity usage during peaks of high demand. Some banks find that it's very effective given some of their data centers or bigger campus locations. Some in the branch level, maybe not so much, but on an aggregated basis across several locations, there may be a response program that works for you. So we've evaluated those, we monitor them, we have specialists in that arena that work closely with us as well. So finally, we're sharing with you a page here that we describe as APPI by the numbers. We did start our firm in 1996. When we started our firm, we decided that we wanted to always be independent, to work only for the client, as I've described earlier, to create a portfolio of commercial and industrial accounts that we would evaluate, as I've described in the RFP and placement process, and place them with good quality suppliers. So we've been successful in doing that with well over 15,000 commercial and industrial accounts under contract today. That includes almost 8,000 accounts in Pennsylvania and over 1,000 customers. Total under management, as far as electricity goes, we have over 10 billion kWh. And with natural gas, we have over 18 million decatherms of natural gas under management. We have 42 employees now full-time, based here in Salisbury, Maryland, where I'm calling in from today. We do have employees based regionally around the country, including in Baltimore, in Michigan, in Virginia, in Florida, California, and our staff, including myself, are in Pennsylvania regularly. We spend many, many days a week, a month, a year in Pennsylvania, working with Pennsylvania bankers and the 30 plus other Pennsylvania-based associations that we work with and our members across the Commonwealth. So we have a big presence in Pennsylvania, and I would add that Pennsylvania was the first state that we got our licensure in back in 1999. Never had an issue, and it's been a wonderful state and opportunity for us to work in now for 20 years. So that concludes my slide deck, Carrie and Wayne, and we'll open it up, Carrie, for some questions if there are questions.
Yes. Thank you, Mike and Wayne. At this point, as Mike said, we invite participants to ask questions through our webcast system. If you have difficulty sending your question, please email them to mpayne@appenergy.com, as you see there on your screen.
Mike and Carrie, this question comes up quite a bit when I'm traveling across the Commonwealth with our membership. And the question is always, what if the member bank's currently in a contract and the contract expires, say, October 2020?
Thank you, Wayne. Yeah, and this is a question, as you would imagine, that we get from clients and opportunities all across the country, not just here in the Commonwealth. And as I mentioned briefly in my remarks, we want your member banks to engage with us, at any time. It doesn't matter when their current supply contracts expire, what supplier they're with, how long they've been in the contracts, their prior experience in this space. We ask that they engage with us. Again, there's no cost, there's no obligation to do that. And as part of their member benefit program, we're going to provide them information and mind share and insights about electricity and natural gas opportunities across the Commonwealth, about solutions to help them reduce costs, no matter when their current contracts expire. So that should not be an indicator or any hurdle around timing. Importantly, as well, as I mentioned in the remarks, the forward pricing for both electricity and gas is at historic lows, and we're able to begin to get price discovery for a bank no matter when that current contract expires. Regularly. In fact, just yesterday, I myself got prices in for 2 Pennsylvania clients whose contracts don't expire until late next year, and one in 2021. And the prices were fantastic. The clients are going to go forward with those. So again, it's important for the member to reach out and to begin the dialogue with us to get things set up. Once we have the account information in, we've scrubbed it, we've analyzed it, we've got it queued up. It allows us to be most effective in our advice and our timing to help the member. And even if from a management perspective, the bank, they say, well, my contract expires in late December. Typically, we don't do this, at least for a year before. That's okay. We can start the process, get things queued up so that we can begin to feed information so that when the management team is ready to go on their internal time clock, they'll already have information, and price discovery can easily be obtained. So lots of reasons not to wait based upon your current contract expiration.
Great. Thank you, Mike. I do have another question for you. Can you explain in a little more detail regarding what benchmarking means and how banks with multiple locations can benefit?
Absolutely. Well, benchmarking, from our perspective, means taking a lot of data, a lot of information, and it can be on electricity prices, it can be on gas prices, it can be on your usage trends and profiles, it can be on your number of locations, your branch offices, any benchmark or key component that you want to look at, and then taking that information and working through it to create actionable information back to the member bank based upon that bank's specific information. So to give you an example, one of our clients is one of our PA banker clients has over 150 branches across the Commonwealth and some in New York and Ohio. And they use our benchmarking, our account portal information benchmarking platform, and they're able to go in there at any time and look at their actual usage, their actual spend for every branch. They can do it by region, they can do it by utility, they can do it across the full scope of their bank. They can do it for different time frames, to start a year ago, to start now, to look forward. It gives them a lot of tools based upon the benchmarking and the analytics that we do to help them understand their spend, their costs, track it, and budget it effectively. So benchmarking in general is taking a lot of information, either, again, pricing or account data, or et cetera, and then making it understandable and showing trends that we get from that around changes in pricing or costs, and then taking that benchmarking information based upon each bank's specific needs and timing, and creating actionable insights and advice from those analytics and the benchmarking that we see.
Thank you. It looks like we have no additional questions at this time. We'd like to thank everyone for participating. A special thank you to Wayne Whipple for joining us this morning, and to our presenter, Mike Payne. Today's program is a copyright of 2019 APPI Energy with all rights reserved. This concludes today's program. You may now disconnect. Thank you.